Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and I am hyped right now. It is Saturday night at 11:52, and the reason I am hyped is because the Ohio State University just went into South Bend in Notre Dame and beat the Irish at home at the last second. What a riveting game. It is 1000% the reason I did not stream tonight. I was so focused on that game. My wife actually went upstairs. She's like, "You're not even gonna sit next to me." I did not sit for the entirety of that game. I sat in my living room, paced with a scowl on for 99.9% of the game. So what a great game. So that's why so I didn't stream. I'm gonna just flat out say, guys, I will not stream if my teams are playing, like the Eagles, the Ohio State Buckeyes, Chelsea, things like that. I will always watch those things before I stream. It's just, I love sports. Anyway, I want to get that out there. I do want to give a huge shout out to my channel members here before we get into the video. Thank you so much for your continued support. Hopefully you guys don't drop the support now that I am a fan of the Ohio State University. But guys, I really appreciate your continued support of this channel, especially when I'm not streaming. If you guys are interested in joining, link down below. Otherwise, hit that subscribe button. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let's get into our video. And so I want to just kind of talk about a few things I've been seeing a lot of players mention in GAC. So we are currently, I'm on a tear. I did really well my first 2 rounds of GAC. The first guy I was up against here, I ended up winning. So I had a okay score. I dropped a bunch of battles. I did not play well whatsoever. I got through the front wall very cleanly here. And then I think on the back wall, I started to drop some battles. I just wasn't making good decisions. Had some unlucky... Was it the back wall or the front wall, maybe? Maybe it was the front wall. I can't remember. I know one of these, I was just making some really bad decisions. And it was costing me some stuff. Yeah, up in here, this was I made some bad decisions here. This cost me some points. But we eked out the win because of everybody's favorite galactic legend, right? Lord Vader with multiple holds there. And then also, I mean, the fattest galactic legend, right? The thickest GL here. Our boy Jabba also getting hold. So that was match 1. And the reason I want to cover these is because I want to show you guys my just results here real quick since I haven't been streaming, and then kind of explain some of these areas that I think players are losing a sense of reality in Grand Arena because they're getting so polarized by what's happening in Kyber 1 that they're not recognizing what really the reality is below that. So in the second round here, I was up against an opponent with 11.4 million. I've got to brag a little bit. So I was able to beat this guy, 11.4 million GP. And while I say that the win, you would say, oh yeah, you won because of Leviathan, we're going to break it down here a little bit. So the only battle that I dropped on was Jabba down here. I just couldn't get through this Jabba in 2 battles. Just was not happening. Commander Tano got 8 by the Ranker, and that was enough to just kind of end that run. But otherwise, the other battle I dropped here was against the Malevolence. I had some wiggle room. I tried to make something work. It didn't happen, so I did the mirror match, and I won the mirror match. So, but what I want to show later on is we have a Leia fight here. Now, it's not ultimate. We'll talk more about that, but something I've seen so many players saying is everybody loves to talk about, oh, Lord Vader's horrible on defense. I just want to show that in 11.4 million, this guy still had to 2-shot my Lord Vader. Still had to 2-shot Lord Vader. And then the other thing that really helped us out here is Jabba grabbing 3 holds there. That was big, right? Those were some big holds for the account. And then obviously Leviathan holding. I mean, who doesn't love a good Leviathan hold? That that definitely, this effectively sealed the deal here. But yeah, really pleased. Very happy with where I am in Grand Arena. But let's get into these points where I think players are kind of losing focus with reality. So the first thing I've seen a lot of players saying is, oh, don't put Malgus on defense anymore because Jedi Knight Cal Kestis beats him. That is horrible advice. That is horrible advice. So you're talking a character that is, Malgus is, everybody thinks oh, Malgus is this great, Malgus is awesome. But Jedi Knight Cal Kestis is probably just as good as Malgus is. In the grand scheme of things, they're just as good as each other. So, what are we really saying there? Right? Like, I don't know that like, it's a counter, right? Like, we don't, I think that's such a it's a horrible piece of advice to give to say, don't put Malgus there. Like, how many of you have actually come up against a Jedi Knight Cal Kestis? Like, you're not facing Jedi Knight Cal Kestis. I've faced maybe 2 of them in my entire time in Kyber 2 here. So if you're below me, probably a lot lower chance of running into one. And if your opponent happens to have a Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, you're either going to lose that or, like, they rushed him and it's not that big of a deal. So, like, don't not set Malgus on defense for fear of that. That is horrible right now. That is not smart. If you're in, like, the lower levels and you, like, just unlock Malgus from Proving Grounds, I would not worry about somebody having Jedi Knight Cal Kestis. And if they do have Jedi Knight Cal, they're not going to have enough other things that this would be a battle. Like, if they do this battle, it's not going to help them like it would somebody else. Because they're not going to have the tools to kind of take advantage of it. Because that's the second part. When you say, oh, don't do this because, like, Jedi Knight Cal Kestis beats this. But that only is a big deal when your opponent has other things to take advantage of that, right? An example here would be, if I have Jedi Knight Cal Kestis and I use it to beat your Darth Malgus, the only thing that allows me then to do is beat something else with whatever team I would have beaten Darth Malgus with. And then that needs to trickle down the way. So, I wanted to mention that. That was one I saw. Another one I saw is that, like, Starkiller, and I'm guilty of this, where I'm like, oh, Starkiller's my Ray counter, and that's it. Completely forgetting that there's, like, a million other ways to use Starkiller, but to a lot of us, that's our Ray counter, and I think sometimes, I gotta call myself out for this, I lose touch with reality that for a lot of players, Starkiller's so much more than that, or Starkiller's your defensive stalwart, because players don't know how to counter him, and he's not easy to counter on defense. There's a couple of ways, like, when I was comparing Starkiller to Aphra, one of the things I had said was that Aphra has a hard counter in Commander Luke Skywalker. But once you get away from that Commander Luke, you lose a lot of those counters. Whereas with Starkiller, the big difference is there's a lot more counters you can use, but they're not nearly as consistent. So I did want to call myself out there a little bit that, like, when I say, yeah, he's my Ray counter, like, there's a lot of other ways you can use Starkiller, just that's the way a lot of us use him at the level that I play at. Alright, look, you guys saw my Lord Vader got holds in both of my GACs, and I've heard so many players saying, don't set Lord Vader on defense because Fennec Bounty Hunters beat him and the Phoenix team beats him. Like, let's time out for a second here, right? Let's just take a time out for a second. I just want to show you guys, just for argument's sake here, I'm just going to show my Fennec. I'm not going to go into the rest of my Bounty Hunters. I just want to show my Fennec. So here's my Fennec, right? Relic 7. Okay, so she's got, some health, right, but primarily protection here. 138 speed. But most importantly, she's got over 12,500 physical special offense here. And that 138 speed is coming with a 19 speed mod here on an offense set. So, why am I showing that and saying that? Because so many players sit there and say, don't set Lord Vader because, the bounty hunters beat him. You've got to have such good bounty hunters to get that done. Like, I think so many players skip that part. They just assume that everybody you go up against has Fennec modded properly. Because even it goes beyond just having a properly modded Fennec. Is your Bosk modded properly? Is Grief? Is Mando? Is Beskar Armor Mando? You've got to have your mods so finely tuned to beat that. So, and then the Phoenix team, don't even get me, like, that's even worse. That's a horrible excuse. Like, oh, what if they have a Phoenix team? How many players actually have a fully relic Phoenix team with Rex in it and good enough mods to beat Lord Vader? Yeah, guys at Arnold's level are going to be able to pull that off. They're here, right? They're here. If you are down here and you've got Lord Vader, I would not be too concerned about somebody having a Phoenix team to beat that. It's just, I can't stand when players say this. You lose, so many people have lost, like, all sense of reality here and saying, like, oh, Lord Vader's horrible. But you see something happen at a level that you're not even playing at. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's what I should be doing too. Like, no. Don't, you when you're playing high school football, you're not saying that I need to make, the same play that, Tom Brady was making or Patrick Mahomes is making. You're a high school football player. Like, know your limits. All right, the next comment I saw, this one, oh, this sent me over the edge. So I put a Riva strategy guide on the channel. I specifically said I know that there's plenty of other guides. I just want this on the channel. And somebody said, yeah, dude, everybody has her now. Do you know at the time that I recorded that video, there are more Relic Tusken Chieftains in the game than Relic Rivas? It was like 12,000. That's not even 1% of the player base that would have her. So to say everyone has her that's horrible. That's such a terrible, terrible thing. And it really frustrated me because it just, I don't know. I maybe I'm like overreacting to things, but if you take 12,000, right? If you do the math of 12,000 and you take that and say, okay, you know, 12,000 here. Oops, hold on. I'm trying to do mine. And you divide that by 50, you get 240 guilds. There are 240 guilds that actually had Riva unlocked. Are you kidding me? Everyone has her. Give me a friggin' break. Like, this set me over the edge a little bit. Like, I was very disappointed because it truly proves what I think a lot of you guys realize, that a lot of these players at my level and myself at times just are lost in the clouds in terms of the real struggles that happen. Or the whole, don't set General Grievous and Mon Mothma because Wampa beats them. Like, that's horrible. Like, these are great defensive teams. Okay, you throw your Wampa against it. Oh, they got free banners. But maybe that's the only options you have for defense because you need other things for offense. I was in that position for a long time. I was more than happy to give these teams up for Wampa. But I'm more than happy to let you use your Wampa against my garbage General Grievous and Mothma team. You get easy banners, I'm basically, you know, I'm taking, the way I look at it, I wouldn't even set a defense if it, you know, I have to set these things. So I may as well just steal a banner from you. So yeah, that one always drives me crazy. Especially because those same people will set like the first order with Captain Phasma and think nothing of it when Enfys Nest solos that team. So would you rather me solo your Captain Phasma team with Enfys Nest or your General Grievous team with Wampa? If you say the Captain Phasma team, I'm going to laugh at you. Because Enfys Nest is not an Omicron character. Enfys Nest can't beat Iden Versio. Enfys Nest can't clean up, you know, certain galactic legends. Like, Wampa can. So, just, like, I think a lot of us just lose this touch of reality because I don't want you to watch Fat Phil or watch Arnold or Zareth or, you know, Heinze or whoever, you know, whatever content creator you love watching, and think that that's the level and the strategy that you need to be using. You need to take the strategies that we have and mold it to the level that you're at. So I just wanted to say that about GAC. It was something that I think a lot of players are just losing sight of reality with some of these new things that are happening, where you're kind of forgetting that you're not even at the point where it's an impact to you. And I've had a lot of you guys say that in the comments, so I'm kind of calling myself out here a little bit, that trying to be self-aware that, yeah, you know what? Sometimes we are losing touch with reality and we need to kind of hone it back in. So now finally, what you've all hopefully been waiting for, we're going to be looking at this Leia battle. So I got to go ahead and make sure I do this right. There we go. All right, so I've got my media player here. So this is the Leia battle here. So I went in and I selected my Jedi Master Luke team. I purposely was saving this team because I wasn't sure it would be on the back wall. I'm going to go in and select my Datacron here. If we go back just a second though, so you guys can see that. This Datacron, I have 88% protection, a little bit of health, and some defense here. Again, with the 15% max health and protection on here. This is a solid Datacron. I've really been enjoying this. And then the Leia Datacron, we've got defense, health, steal, and critical damage here with the 15% max health and protection as well. So in reality, my Datacron may be a lot better for Jedi Master Luke, but they're still getting a solid amount of defense and other things for Leia. So I did want to show that. And then I did want to check R2-D2's mods. And the big thing that I was looking for here was just how much health. I saw the offense set and knew that he'd be modding for offense. So now we're going to go in here to this fight. Now, my entire strategy during this fight was just to treat it like I would a Rey battle before Ben solo. Right? So Leia did get a first turn. Oops, I want to pause it here. So I was treating it like a Rey battle where you just want to zerg down Rey. And that was exactly what I was doing here. So you guys will see that I'm just going to go all in on trying to kill Leia. Now remember, there's no ultimate on this Leia, so there is that, to take that into consideration. Also, the Sharut and Baze, I'm not entirely convinced were the best options here. I think that, having some of those other Jedi characters would have been really smart, but again, we're just going to try and zerg down Leia as best as we can. Though, what I did like about the Sharut Imwe here was that if you did lose this buff immunity, I would end up, she would be able to get healing over time, and that could be a big problem for me trying to beat this team. So, again, we're just kind of going through here, and so you'll see that she, we're keeping that buff immunity on. We've got to inflict that fearless on her. And then we're going to keep going here. We're just going to try and get ability blocks out there. Again, I mean, look how little damage we've actually done to her. And then Baze came in with that Dispel. That was not good. I did not want that. So again, we're just going in here. And we've got our ultimate. Right? We're keeping on the pressure. And now, right, so they're getting in some plays, but we've got this kind of, I feel pretty confident at this point. Like, I feel like I've got this really well under wraps. So we're going to go in, hit our ultimate here. And we're gaining, the one thing with this Galactic Legend is that we're gaining a lot of turn meter, right? We do gain a lot of turn meter here. And you notice you don't get any cooldown help here, so that is, another big issue. So again, we're just, look, even with dealing as much damage as we are, Leia's still sticking around. She's got that tank. So we're going around. Look, that still did nothing to her. And now look, this is where I made a misplay there. She got healing over time on her, and look, she's gaining a lot of health there. So that was a big problem. So I need to dispel that, get that buff immunity back on there. And we're just going to keep going all in on her. So look, we're already like 2.5 minutes into this fight, and we've dealt some damage, but we really just need to get Leia out of there. I just noticed this Leia doesn't even have all of her Zetas. I didn't even notice that when I was first going in. So that would explain probably a lot here. Yeah. Again, I don't mind sharing this. I just wanted to show the fight that I did get it done. I think if she had all of her Zetas, might have looked a little bit different. I'm not sure how differently this would have gone. Probably might have stolen some banners. But I think overall, this is pretty indicative of what her kit will be. Again, I don't know why I'm coming up against these guys who don't have, like, full Zetaed out teams and stuff at this level. Like, that just kind of is infuriating to me. Like, if you're going to wail on Leia, you better get your act in order. But, yeah, 65 banners. So, again, that Leia not having all of her Zetas, I didn't even notice that the first time, to be honest. Did not notice that whatsoever. But again, I think it's pretty, obvious. Hopefully you guys enjoy that if you're still sticking around. I did want to share that little bit of video there just because, I thought that was pretty cool, even though she only had a couple Zetas there. And I want to end with this, right, in Grand Arena, that one of the areas that I feel I always do, oops, that was the wrong button that I wanted to press. The one thing I want to say that I think a lot of players kind of mess up with, and again, I misclicked, is they go into fights, and this is, Fat Phil advice all the time. You go into a fight like this Lord Vader, and you're like, okay, how can I use as little characters as possible to beat this? And they end up failing. And then you've got to try and clean it up, and you fail again. And in my mind, you want to save your biggest teams for your biggest fights. So in that Leia fight, you saw, like, I brought Jedi Master Luke, Jedi Knight Revan, Hermit Yoda, Grandmaster Yoda, and a lot of people be like, oh, that's so expensive, and why would you do that? Well, I walked away with 65 banners, and I walked away with the win, more importantly. So instead of trying to sit there and nitpick of, oh, could I maybe have done it with this team or this team, like, what happens when you fail that way? Now you've thrown away an entire team trying to underman something or, spend a little bit less, and you end up getting nothing for it. So I want to leave you with that. Hopefully you enjoyed the Leia video. I do apologize. I didn't realize it was only 4 Zetas. That tells you how, that is like, if there's like one thing I really struggle with in this game sometimes. I just see something and I won't even go to like, oh, do they have all the Zetas? Or oh, do they have the Omicrons or whatever. I just assume that everybody does because that's kind of the opponents I normally get. So, yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. I love all you. May the Force be with you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.